one of the article, and I was very touched reading it because I think it was one of the fight, and you were hurt, and you were thinking out loud about you needing to be healthy for your son, and you are in the sport that there's a lot of head injury and what have you. Talk to us more about the head injury and how is that related to the emotional well-being of an athlete.
Well, just like football, MMA does include a lot of head trauma. Where in football you happen to get hit in the head, MMA, it's oftentimes the point. One of the main factors in these kinds of head injuries is depression and endocrine issues and sleep problems and different things that actually have some longevity after a head injury. And I received a head injury, a pretty significant one in 2014, and I continued to fight because I felt like I could work around it and do different techniques through different disciplines. And I did until I fell flat on my face because I was compensating in ways that were just not conducive to me being successful at my sport. So after I lost to Ronda Rousey, I knew before the fight that I was going to take a break because I had just a lot of physical problems going on, and I needed to heal. And not only did I need to heal physically, but emotionally. I was looking at my son. He was ready for me to give him all my attention and time. And MMA is a very selfish sport. You have to be on point. You have to do your diet right. You have to do your rest right. You have to do everything. And it's very hard to feel selfish as a parent. Your kid deserves to go to the park and play tag. Well, if I've been running around all day on minimal calories, twice a day, burning up everything I have, going to the park and playing tag is actually a huge effort. And my kid does deserve those things from me. So after 2 training camps passed when my husband had died, it was just time for him to have my attention and for us to get through this part together. Another one of the issues with that was, again, like my endocrine system was messed up. That was from pituitary damage, which then led to thyroid damage, which led to a ton of weight gain. And that in itself ends up being a big struggle for the sport because it is a weight class sensitive sport. With other endocrine problems is depression. My son seeing me depressed and seeing me anxious and seeing those things, I'm sure was impactful on him in ways that I don't even understand because of what he saw with his father. And it's a completely different scary dynamic that he unfortunately knows the worst case scenario result of. And I couldn't have my son scared of those things where I know I'm okay, but maybe he doesn't. And I needed to spend that time with him. I needed to heal with him. I wasn't the only one going through the grief that I was going through and the complicated emotions that go with it. 1 minute you're sad, 1 minute you're okay, and then you feel guilty for being okay, and then something makes you laugh and you feel guilty for laughing, and all of these things that go along with anger and just missing somebody, but also not missing the fact that you're scared. And it's complicated. And if I was feeling those things, I know he was too. And to be with him, to walk through it with him was more important to me than going and fighting and either getting my hand raised or not. And I would rather screw up with my career and my UFC than screw up with my son.
So how would a young, inspiring athlete like you, what would they need to do to really protect themselves physically and mentally? What would be your advice?
They go hand in hand. The sport in itself is obviously physical as far as the training regimen and the nutrition and the body composition and everything, but you can't do any of that if your mind isn't right. You got to piece it together. The timing comes from your coordination, looking at people, your confidence in even getting out there and implementing yourself in somebody, your will is everything. Do I want to do this? And all of that is a big storm that needs to come together for you to perform and keep yourself safe. Like, you're hitting each other to the point of submission, to the point of one of you is not walking out of there healthy. One of you is, you know, your limb is being threatened, or your airways are being threatened, or a head injury is being threatened. So you have to go in there with as much confidence as composure as possible. Otherwise, you are at a risk of getting more hurt or more damaged than you would if you were at your best.
So you think athletes would be open to your advice that, you know, if they have emotional turmoil, that they need to seek counseling? Because beside medication, counseling is also
absolutely. Well, I do feel like medication is effective, and some people need it for amounts of time, some people need it for life. And one thing that I 100% think needs to go with medication is counseling and therapy, because I feel like medication gets you to a level where you're calm enough and you're conscious and cognizant enough to take on tools to deal with yourself. You know, for me, when I start getting anxious or panicky, like, I know with myself that I need to make outward changes if I want to internally feel different. And that's something that I had to learn through going to counseling. I've been on medication various times in my life. I'm on medication right now for depression and anxiety. And the things that I can gain from going and talking about the ways that I feel, and then having some solutions or options to deal with the symptoms and the behaviors of feeling the way I feel in the moment, are monumental to me feeling better. You know, writing or drawing or expressing myself in more gentle ways versus going and punching stuff is sometimes exactly what I need. Sometimes I just need to burn a ton of energy and lay there sweating and I feel better. But there are so many more things that we can and need to do in supplementation of medication, that I think medication gets us to the point where we can learn and realize that.
That's beautiful. I don't think I can say any better than that. Oh my gosh. Are you sure you don't want to be a counselor?
I don't know
let's
if
talk
I have.
about that.
I don't know if I can read that many books anymore as far as psychological
But I mean,
stuff.
that's basically it. That's why people need both medication and counseling. I mean, that's beautiful. I'm stunned. I'm shocked. I don't know what else to say. This is beautiful. So, 10 years from now, what would Kat be doing?
You know, I really do feel like all of this in my life happened for a reason. You know, as terrible as it is, I'm actually really committed to turning this horrible stuff into something positive. And I don't even know what that looks like. You know, MMA is something that I'm proud of, and I love my goals and I plan to achieve my goals, but I also don't feel like this is the greatest thing I'll ever do. And I don't want it to be the greatest thing I'll ever do. I hope it's part of a resume that I can create to make a change and make a difference and be a leader, because I've seen how what I'm doing impacts people, and the fact that those people being impacted also impacts me and makes me want to do better, because I get to carry a lot of us. Because I know in my life I've needed people to carry me at times, and if it's my turn, then I'm in, you know. And I do feel like there's something greater to be done with all of this. I feel like in honor of my husband, I want something to come out of it, so it's not for nothing and it's not in vain. And you know, at the same time, like, make it an open forum for people to admit, like, stuff sucks sometimes and I kind of hate being here, and I don't necessarily know how to even say this or articulate it or understand why I feel this way. So, like, what do you think? You know, and help make things more open and less taboo and less stigmatic for people to want to improve these crazy parts of their lives, because it's real and it's happening and it's not unique. It's all over the place.
I look forward to that. I really do.